Basket weaving is one of the oldest forms of folk art. Specifically in America, the origins of basket weaving are attributed to the Native American community. They would forage local materials to make and create their baskets, often embellished with imaginative designs. After the gold rush, these baskets were highly sought after by non-native people, bringing money and respect to the basket weavers. Traditional materials include bark, spruce roots, and vines. These were used in the woven technique. Plaiting, twining, or coiling technique use many types of grasses, such as these shown here. Pine needles were used with the coiling technique. These materials were all harvested locally. Baskets were used as containers to hold things like seeds, carry items such as wood or vegetables, or trap various animals like fish or small birds. Some interesting facts that I learned about basket weaving include using iris, cattail, and daffodil leaves to weave assorted colors into a basket. Dandelion leaves can also be used to weave a basket. These leaves would be used in the twining method of basket weaving. I do not have any cultural connection to basket weaving that would drive me to weave baskets, but when I was 10, my family and I took a trip to Jamestown, Virginia. In their Native American village, I saw someone demonstrating how to coil a pine needle basket such as these. The thought of making my own basket from the foraging stage to a finished product out of pine needles has stayed with me ever since. After my interview with Diane Saxton, her passion and enthusiasm for the craft inspired me to try weaving techniques. The first basket I wove was a simple market basket that had a basic over one, under one weave pattern. After measuring and soaking the reed, I determined the right side of the reed and marked the bottom of the weaver. I turned the wrong side of the reed to the inside of the basket to avoid splintering. Next, I wove the spokes to a specific measurement per the instructions. I had to weave a small rim around the base of the basket to secure the base and begin weaving the walls. Then I began weaving the sides of the basket. I continuously put water on the basket and weavers to keep them moist and flexible. The entire process from start to finish took me about 4 hours. For this basket, I gathered pine needles from my backyard in Virginia. I dried them, rehydrated, wrapped in a towel, and removed the caps off with my nail. To begin the coil basket, I wrapped a small cluster of needles with a long piece of waxed linen thread. Then I began the coil. I used a cut piece of straw as my gauge to keep the coil even. I used a plain stitch to stitch the coils together. Not including the time to gather and dry the materials, this project took me approximately 8.5 hours to complete. Part of this assignment is to connect our final project to ourselves. I decided to make a fabric basket since I'm in the fashion design program. I cut strips of cloth and ironed heat-bonded interfacing to the strips of cloth. Then I folded the strips and sewed down both sides of the strip to form the warp strips. I repeated the process to form the weft as well. Then I began a simple over one, under one weaving pattern and created the little berry basket that my daughter loves to play farmer's market with. This basket took about 2.5 hours to create. This last basket I wove is an egg basket. I was hesitant to attempt this design because it seemed very complicated. However, Diane assured me the process is not as difficult as it appears and I would have no problem doing it. To start this basket, I had to first create the God's Eye pattern on the sides of the basket. This pattern helps create the pockets where the ribs of the basket fit into. After the God's Eye was complete, I loosely measured the ribs and inserted them by pairs of 2 into the God's Eye. Then I proceeded to weave the base of the basket starting around the God's Eye. The goal of this basket is to have a nice straight line on the bottom of the basket. To do this, I had to add in extra rows of weaving on the sides to fill in the bulge without taking up a complete row. This basket took me 3 hours to make. For me, except for the pine needle basket, I only had to purchase one kit. Diane graciously provided the materials and instructions for the egg basket. I did not need to gather and harvest my own materials in contrast to the traditional way of gathering one's own resources. However, I find the idea of foraging incredibly romantic. The process of pulling the reeds so tightly together made my hands swell and fatigue. In contrast, the berry basket with my familiar fabric was easily completed in a much more relaxed manner with no hand swelling. With this new interest to pursue, I discovered weaving to be a way to slow down while being creative.